Hello, I'm Caress Clegg, and this is another Ready, Set, Return video segment. In previous segments of this series, we have spoken with Eddie Anderson and Julie Barnum, Assistant Superintendent for Operations and Student Support Services. With me today, we have Dr. Smith, Deputy Superintendent. Dr. Smith has oversight of academic and instructional services and will be with us today to provide answers to many of those questions that families are patiently awaiting answers to. Thank you, Dr. Smith, for being here with us today. We know that your division is extremely busy, so let's get right to it. First question, how is remote learning during the 2020-2021 school year going to be different than remote learning in the spring?
Well, Chris, I'd like to start by just thanking you for the opportunity to reach out to our families. I know that there is quite a bit of anxiety out there in regards to what remote learning will look like, as well as what our virtual academy will look like this year. Your question, a very good one, how will it be different? We all know that as a result of COVID-19, our district, along with every other district in the state of North Carolina, as well as every other district, to my knowledge, in the United States, closed as a result of COVID-19. It was an emergency closure. It was not something that we were prepared for. We were not a district that was engaged in remote learning or one-to-one prior to our emergency closure. And so since that closure, we've been able to work with our principals and our teachers and just different folks within our district as well as outside our district to build capacity. And so what will occur this year will be more intentional. It will be better designed to meet the needs of our children. It will be responsive and reflective of the things that we've learned along the way from the emergency school closure on March 13th.
Thank you for that. We talk about what the options that we'll have for the 2020-21 school year. And I know there seems to be a lot of confusion over exactly what each option entails, what it offers, and the correct kind of terminology to name that option. So can you just give us a brief understanding and differentiating between virtual schools, virtual academies, and what remote learning is?
So yes, and I agree with you. I think that is probably the number one question that I've received in terms of my inbox. With virtual school is an online school option that the district is working towards. It is not yet available. It will likely not be available for at least another 6 months. This will be a school completely dedicated to online learning for our students. It will offer K-12 options. There will be a principal specifically hired for the school. As the district has reported, the school will have school colors and a mascot. It will have a specific name and a specific school number. Students will be enrolled in a part of that school. And so a child may enter, in one grade, complete that grade and go on to the next in the virtual school. But unfortunately, that is not available to us at this point. What is available to us is our reentry plan or our school opening plan under Plan B, where we are offering to folks the opportunity for face-to-face instruction and also remote instruction. Face-to-face instruction will be just that. That will be a student in front of a teacher supporting learning in the classroom. It will be different in that we will be practicing social distancing and following all the guidelines that have been outlined by the CDC. Also, a part of that is there are 2 weeks of remote learning. This learning will be teacher designed and teacher directed. It may be that the face-to-face teacher is the teacher who's designing and directing this, but more likely than not, there would be a remote learning teacher who would be supporting this environment. With virtual school, we understand that there are folks who are uncomfortable with sending their students back to school for various reasons. And so we are offering them a fully online virtual school option, and it is the Virtual Academy. And this academy, the academies are associated with their child's school, so their child does not need to unenroll and to attend the virtual academy. It is associated with their school. It is also self-paced, so there is an undergirding platform from which courses are built, and teachers have the ability to customize and personalize these courses. But that learning is self-paced.
Thank you for clarifying that. So we know that the board is looking to meet tomorrow, and there's been discussion over whether we'll do Plan B or Plan C. What will be the differences in virtual learning if we are moved into Plan C?
So with Plan C, the understanding is that it's temporary. So transitioning from Plan B to Plan C would mean that what we would have expected to occur during the remote learning weeks would now occur full-time for those students while we are in Plan C. So that means teacher developed, teacher directed lessons, personalized, which will be paired with synchronous instruction. And I'm talking primarily for the elementary schools. With our secondary and schools, middle schools, and high schools, it will look more similar to actually what we're planning for our virtual academy. And with that, it would be those lessons that are built out across a common course shell. But again, teachers personalize those lessons, and there's the opportunity for self-pacing within those lessons. And when I say self-pacing, it's not that you've got this undetermined amount of time to get certain things complete. It would be maybe assignments are due in 2 days, so you have a 2-day window. Maybe there's a video that you need to watch within the first 3 days, and then there's an assignment that you need to complete within the next 2 days after that. So that's what we're talking about, self-pacing. It would still also be an environment where feedback would be given to students. There would be the opportunity for interaction between the teacher and the parent, and then the opportunity for students who need a little extra help or students who would benefit from some acceleration. And so those features would be present. So there are definitely more similarities and differences, but I would say that probably the biggest difference will be the level of personalization and the level of synchronous instruction that would be present with the remote learning as opposed to the virtual academy.
Thank you. And you touched on a bit about parents' interactions with teachers and their role. Will there be demos and tutorials offered for parents to help them support their students at home through virtual instruction?
Yes, we recognize there's a need to provide support to parents. And so for those parents who are interested, we would be providing them with tutorials, videos, opportunity for additional support. For parents who think that they've got it and they don't need that support, then they would have access to serve in the capacity of their child's learning coach. But if they found out after the fact that they needed some additional support, that support would be provided.
Thank you. So let's talk about a parent who maybe chooses to participate in, and this is under Plan B, chooses to participate 100% in virtual instruction, but later decide that that is not the best option for their child and then wants to kind of transition into that face-to-face. Is that a possibility for parents? And then if so, additionally, what is the timeline or the commitment requirement that families are making to either plan?
So we want our options to be as responsive to families as they can be. So we're asking for elementary and middle school families to make a 9 weeks commitment, and we're asking for high school students and their families to make a semester-long commitment.
And is there the option to switch between those if they cannot fulfill that 9-week or that semester commitment?
So we're asking for that commitment. So we're hoping that they will be able to maintain that. But if a family finds themselves in a unique situation for which they needed to make a change, then of course we would work with them. But again, at the end of the 9 weeks, at the end of the semester, they would be able to reevaluate their decision. And if they wanted to make a different decision at that time, we could make a transition for them. To do it earlier than that, I think would present a greater disruption to the child's learning. And we want to make sure that the continuity of learning is present.
Thank you for explaining that, Dr. Smith. So some of our high school parents are wondering, the classes that they registered, their students may have registered for in the spring, will those classes still be honored for the fall semester?
So we're working right now with our Director of Secondary Education, Mr. Al O'Brien, and our high school principals to make sure that we can offer all, I'll say this, as many of our high school courses as we can. We recognize that there will be a few courses that we're not able to offer, but right now we will be able to honor the majority of those courses.
Will the remote instruction impact our IB students at Hogarth High School or any of our Lyceum students at New Hanover High School?
So I think that there's going to be an impact because that was not what our students anticipated or our teachers anticipated. But will we be able to continue those courses with the same level of quality? I'm very confident that we will be able to.
All right. So we've talked about a little bit about the specialty programs within the high schools. What is this going to look like for our non-traditional high schools? For instance, Isaac Bear, who partners with UNCW, and WEX and CTEC through their partnership with Cape Fear Community College.
So for our juniors and seniors that take those courses at the college and or university, they will follow the college and or university schedule. And then graders that are on those campuses, they will follow the schedule of either of the plan that we're in at the time.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Will there be teacher input when it comes to designing the virtual academies?
So we have solicited input from our principals. We've also talked with other professionals in terms of the design of the virtual academies. With teachers, their opportunity for personalization really comes in how they build out their courses for students. So in my mind, where it really counts in terms of the design and the delivery of instruction and in the design and delivery of assessments and ensuring that our students are achieving at a high level, that's where our teachers will have their greatest level of input.
Dr. Smith, can you talk to us a little bit about supplemental services and whether those will still be available for students such as AIG, resources, speech, and occupational therapy?
So yes, we will continue to provide those services for those students who qualify for AIG services or require EL services. Those services will continue to be provided.
And will students be able to still continue daily recess in the elementary grade?
Schools are currently working out those schedules, but we would anticipate that daily recess, which I would say to you is going to be critical, will be scheduled at the school level.
How are our elementary schools going to look in relations to offering their electives? Will we still have PE, art, media center, and music?
So we've not had any conversations that would in any way indicate eliminating those. The plan is that students would still have those elective options.
All right, and just a couple more questions that some of our parents were wanting to know. Is attendance going to still be taken? And if so, how extreme will attendance be?
So attendance will be taken. It will be counted daily, but it will look very different. So in the virtual academy, for instance, it might be through the learning management system, the number of times that a child logs into the system, or either the completion of students' assignments, so the timely completion of assignments. And then, of course, when you're face-to-face, then we would count attendance in the same way that we typically would. But the attendance requirements are in place.
All right. And when we're looking at grades, I know during the spring semester, grades were kind of optional, for lack of a better term. Is that going to be the case with the 2020-2021 school year?
No, all district policies regarding grading are enforced. So we will be following typical grading policies as we have in the past.
Okay. And will there be any time changes to school? Will schools go for a shorter amount of time, or will the school day still extend to the normal?
So schools right now are scheduled along their typical hours, as well as schools are also planning to follow their typical calendar schedule.
Well, thank you, Dr. Smith, for all of this information. It has certainly been helpful, and I'm sure our parents and families will be thrilled to have this information. In addition to the video, we are looking at also posting our FAQs to go along with this. So if you were not able to view this video in its entirety, please check out the FAQs located at www.nhcs.net. Thank you, families, for joining us, and have a wonderful day.